What's good, YouTube? It's your girl, Miss Golden 83, and I am here to do an Empower Me reading, EMP, for Aquarius. You guys have came out after the right here and now readings with a couple of views. I truly appreciate your patronage. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe so you can be notified the next time that I do a reading for your sign. Okay, I really do appreciate you guys coming through in such a short period of time. Okay, you definitely did leaps and bounds over Leo, which I was getting ready to do, but then I saw you guys had some views. So remember, you guys, these are general messages, not personal. So take what resonates and pass the rest to the next. Okay. Before I get to shuffling, I shuffled the deck beforehand. These are new readings, primarily to empower you, as it says in the title of the series. But EMP, specifically spiritually, is to get this emotional pulse to you of, help centering you, okay, with the deck in which we're using for this reading, for these readings. I will say that some messages came through, maybe kind of piggybacking off of what I've been pretty much preaching on this channel in different readings at a time, as far as cross-watching, how it can affect the reading, but specifically for you guys, Aquarius, it seems as though there's some interference, okay? More so or less in talking with your person, and how, it could be some kind of avoidance of talking, and using spirituality, because maybe it's something going on internally that's not clicking between you and your person, okay? This could be temporary for some of you. I don't know, maybe second doubts on something as it pertains to your person. And the best advice that I can give you, okay, is more so or less, it's one thing to be observant of a person with them not knowing that you're being observant of them. And then it's another thing to observe and acknowledge it, okay, and bring it up in conversation. Now, I felt this energy of maybe someone more so or less avoiding having a conversation with their person because they may be somewhat hot-tempered, okay? I don't feel like it's you, Aquarius. Maybe it's your person, okay? And so maybe it's more so or less, again, I don't want to, assume or put any negative energy on you and your connection, but when there's a situation of someone being more so easily offended or very defensive when you come to them, I don't know whether or not, if it's something traumatic that maybe happened in their previous relationships that makes them become on guard when you bring something to them, but maybe it's the tone or maybe the delivery that is triggering them, okay? So the only thing that you can possibly do is change your wording and your position, make sure your body language isn't that of, more so demanding in a way, but comes off a little bit more compassionate, okay, where it doesn't come off as you're being accusational in your tone. That may be something that's triggering them. And so kind of learn to change your wording around, okay? Having emotional intelligence and determining, which you already have, that your person does get triggered very easily. So, kind of pull it back and be a little bit more nurturing in your delivery. which could maybe change how they receive what you're saying. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Um, because in hindsight, some may assume that someone who gets easily triggered by what you are, communicating to them, there could be some truth behind it. Okay, and there could be more so identifying truth than accusational truth. Okay, so there's like a fine line. Okay, it's a fine gray line in communication. Okay, so for example, you could say I feel, or I want to address something that I need clarification on from you in order to have better understanding of how your mind works, or how things transcribe, even if it is your behavior to how they receive it. Okay, so I always try my best in my own personal interactions, more so or less, to look within and see what it is that I'm either lacking or need to try and understand from the perspective of the other person before I speak on something. Um, that's just me. And that's just me being more so conscientious and courteous to the other person, especially if I know I'm maybe moving irrationally off of my own emotions, before taking the time to really evaluate it first before I say something. Okay, so try and move in that sense. It's not to people please, it's to obviously do exactly what this reading is to remain zen. Okay, in all situations. And sometimes being zen irritates the other person because they're not centered, and that's okay. I'm not saying that everybody has to be, but we could possibly avoid a lot of situations and misunderstandings if we actually took the time to be considerate of the other person and understand our own selves before we project out to the world. Okay, or the person across from us. So within these Empower Me readings, I want you to take the time to just kind of close your eyes, Aquarius. Imagine what it is that you want out of your situation. Where is your happy place? Find yourself there. If you're kind of floating in the clouds in a way, and maybe that's how you feel about this connection that you have. And I don't want you to see the bad in it, because it's like I do see a vision of someone kind of floating up in the clouds. It's pure happiness. It's blue. The sky is still blue. There's, clouds are kind of, dissipating, but then you fall. Okay. So I don't know if that's how you perceive, you are zen, or you try to be zen, or you try to be centered, but something always makes you fall out of it. So it's hard to focus in a way, or you find yourself more so or less understanding reality of things. You want the pretty pictures, but or lifestyle, but something always seems to happen to make you fall down. Okay, but the question is, do you always get up? So either you need to change what your happiness is, or you're still in search of it. Okay, so with that being said, again, close your eyes as we go ahead and shuffle. We're gonna go 3 shuffles since we were able to get that out the way for you, Aquarius. Again, while I'm shuffling, just try and find and center yourself in that happy place. I want you to breathe positive energy in through your nose. Okay, nice deep inhale through the nose, and then exhale any negative energy, self-doubt, anything out through the mouth, okay? And if there's a word that comes to mind as you do 3 breaths of that, as we just finished that 3rd shuffle and getting ready to cut the deck by 3, I want you to say whatever that word is out, okay? If it is a negative word, that means it is expelling from you, okay? And then I want you to clear your mind, as each card that gets put out on your spread will have a question attached to it, okay? Somewhat similar to the Tap Into Your Souls. If you want, you can write out what you feel or what your answer is to each question, or you can wait until after the reading and kind of journal it to kind of help yourself as you progress forward. These readings are only going to be done based off of viewership, okay? So I don't know when your next one is going to be. Obviously, like I said, I'm coming back and kind of, getting my feet wet again after a long hiatus. So bear with me. But if you ever want to reach out, you can go to my About Me page, and I do have my email there if you'd like to contact me. Okay? So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into your reading. All right? These are kind of thin, so it's kind of hard for me to pick them up. I probably will use your place card, Aquarius, which I didn't pull up to the front so you can see, but I will probably use your placement card to get these cards off of the desk, okay? So, one from the top is the placement of where are you headed, Aquarius? Where are you headed? Second card from the top that's underneath that is, are you focused? Basically, are you focused in the place and where you are headed, or where you want to be heading, okay? Not be headed, okay? But you know what I mean, okay? Play on words. One from the bottom, okay? Do you believe in yourself? Okay, do you believe in yourself, Aquarius, in the things that you are doing, where you are headed? Do you believe that you can stay focused while on this journey? Okay, we have another one coming from the bottom. What should you release? Okay, again, think of that word that you possibly thought of or said out loud as you took that last breath coming out during the beginning of the reading. That could be what it is that you need to release. Like I said, self-doubt could possibly be one of those things, okay? Now I'm going to settle the deck in the middle here, and we're going to spread the cards to pick one from the middle energetic pull. This is how will it change you, okay? How will it change you is in the middle, and that is the 5th card. If you pay attention to numerology, or at least on my channel, 5 promotes change, and thus the reason for that question being, why will it change you, or how it will change you, okay? So with that being said, let's see where you're going to start at with this first placement, okay? And like I said, very thin cardstock. So that took me a minute, okay? Now, to start, where are you headed? The Fool, to begin with. Very nice, okay? The Fool, obviously, in the regular writer's way, talks about taking a leap of faith, new opportunities possibly, or new beginnings in your life in general. This Fool for this deck is very different, because normally the person is not actually off the cliff yet. Okay, with this one, I'm gonna hold it back up again. As you can see, he's already taken the leap and holding flowers. There's the crescent moon here along the side. There's a valley, and there's a little bit of brush right along the side of the cliff. Okay, um, but this person is more so or less wearing kind of like green tights. The clothing is very more so or less feels vibrant to me, and this person feels very carefree. They're holding flowers, and so they're very open, and more so or less is what I feel, to new opportunities. There was no uh, time or took any time to really think things through before going forth with whatever you wanted to do, Aquarius. And so, without caring about what was on the bottom, it doesn't really seem like this ledge or this cliff is a long drop. Okay, it feels like it's very short, and like I said, it feels like a valley, and it almost feels like I feel water. I don't know if you're possibly dealing with a water sign, possibly. Um, but the water is not your average color. It almost feels like it could be a road, more so or less, or a riverbank of some sort. But it has a hue to it of kind of like fuchsia, purple, and then kind of going into an orange and yellow. Those colors are prominent in the sky as well. So it feels like, you just took a huge leap of faith either on a person or a situation, because you see yourself headed into new territory, new beginnings. Okay, and so very optimistic. Okay, more so or less. Let's see, are you focused while being in this position? Okay, there's fighting. Okay, fighting coming up. Okay, now I get this feeling of an energy of things started off very optimistic, um, or you were very optimistic in making your decision. Your focus could have been thwarted a little bit by secondary decisions, or fighting against what maybe seemed a red flag of some sort. Um, and again, getting where you fit in, because this is covering multiple energies of Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising, particularly. Okay, so if it doesn't fit for you in one part of the reading, somewhere else will. Okay, so we're going to go into the book for this one, but I do feel like I said, an energy of things changing or fighting to see something as it was when you felt optimistic about it, to begin with. The figure in this card is completely covered in armor. Only his glare of rage is visible, and the whites of the knuckles on his clenched fist. If you look closely at the armor, you can see it's covered with buttons, ready to detonate if anybody so much as brushes up against them. In the background, we see the shadowy movie that plays in this man's mind. Two figures fighting for a castle. An explosive temper or a smoldering rage often mask a deep feeling of pain. We think that if we frighten people away, we can avoid being hurt even more. In fact, just the opposite is the case. By covering our wounds with armor, we are preventing them from being healed. By lashing out at others, we keep ourselves from getting the love and nourishment we need. If this description seems to fit you, it's time to stop fighting. There is so much love available to you if you just let it in. Start by forgiving yourself. You're worth it. Just for this small moment, just waiting for the train in a waiting room on a station and creating so much fuss, fighting, hurting each other, trying to possess, trying to boss, trying to dominate, all that politics. And then the train comes and you are gone forever. So there is some turmoil going on personally, possibly either within you. We do recall that Nine of Wands, I believe, was in your right here and now reading. And so the wounded warrior has now put on armor, okay, and has been really battling. The red in his eyes, yes, promotes rage, also wrinkling in the face, getting tired of fighting, okay? And so you're fighting with something. It may not be with your partner. For some of you, it may be family, as far as position in the family. And again, I can only stress to make sure of how your tone and disposition comes off to be either threatening to someone when it doesn't need to be. Okay, but if you've been mostly talking in a tone of I'm this and I've done that, more so boisterous or again trying to solidify your position in title, it can come off as a little bit intimidating, okay? Or vice versa, all right? But it does have to stop, all right? And you have to reevaluate and assess how you're moving, okay? And how you're communicating, okay, Aquarius? So let's move on to the next placement of do you believe in yourself? Obviously you do if there's, a lot of this going on where you feel like you have to protect something, okay? But let's see what's going on in this third placement of do you believe in yourself? And it's the outsider, okay? The outsider is showing up. Definitely going into the book for this one. But I feel this energy. There's a child here that's kind of is locked out or locked in, more so or less, okay? The term outside looking in comes to mind. But there's this gate. There is a lock on it. The lock is red, but for a minute it looks almost, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it almost looks like the lock itself is somewhat, it's not really completely locked. It looks like it's been unlocked, but the chain is still here, okay? So I feel as though the child could get out, but it's kind of like an inner child thing, okay? Or someone feels like a child that's on the outside looking in to a situation. Obviously, it looks like more so positive energy that's on the opposite side of this gate, okay? And there's like cemented walls. And it almost looks like the child is barefoot as well, okay? So almost feeling like a grounding, if you will, okay? I don't know if there's a parental figure involved, but you may feel like a child sometimes. in the presence of an elder that kind of steps in from time to time that may not feel like you're ready for something and could be leaving you out of things purposely. Okay, that, or you feel, or that is the feeling that you get. Okay, so we're going to page 146 in the book. And it says, so you are feeling yourself an outsider. This is good. This is the transitory period. Now you have to be alert not to fill yourself with pain and misery. Now that God is no longer there, who is going to console you? You don't need any consolation. Humanity has come of age. Be a man, be a woman, and stand on your own feet, the bare feet in this card, okay? The only way to be connected with existence is to go inwards, because they're at the center. You are still connected. You have been disconnected physically from your mother. That disconnection was absolutely necessary to make you an individual in your own right. But you are not disconnected from the universe. Your connection with the universe is of consciousness. You cannot see it, so you have to go deep down with great awareness, watchfulness, witnessing, and you will find the connection. The Buddha is the connection. Okay? Now, I feel as though you may take a little bit of offense as far as saying the book stating that you've been disconnected physically from your mother. Okay? Again, this is talking about an inner child situation. When we find ourselves hurt, who is the first person that we go to, more so or less? And I'm talking about physically hurt. You get a cut on your knee, you go to your mother. Your mother bandages you up, maybe kisses it, calls it a boo-boo, and you feel better. Okay? But as we grow up, we slowly disconnect from running back home for that comfort, that consoling. Okay? You can't constantly, we have no ability to or want to continuously go to our parents to fix everything. Okay? It may be more so for advice, but you may find yourself, if you had a closer connection with your mother, obviously during adolescence, but then getting into an adult, she believes in you to be able to figure things out on your own. Most parents do the empty nester thing, and it may be more so or less that they love when you come back to ask for advice, and others, it's a party. They feel like they can have their life back. Okay? Because they obviously believe that you can handle it. All right? So it's in that sense that I think the book is coming from, in the sense of, like I said, bare feet, in which most, so far since I'm going on like 1,000 readings, I've never once really seen an inner child or a child in a card without shoes. Okay? It's very, in my opinion, very rare, with the exception of like Cupid, and thinking of some of the other ones that I may have seen in some of my other decks. But nonetheless, this is now your time of growing up and into maturity and being able to handle things on your own. And obviously someone believes that you are able to do so, but certain things they may keep you away from. I still feel that, okay? Um, in in turn, you may, if you want to break that cycle of that possibly happen, if that's something that's generational, that's always been prominent in your family, it will be down to you or the next generation after you to break that cycle, okay? Um, I've, I'm hearing the word uncertainty in the sense of whatever it is, your journey that you're going through, Aquarius. Again, if it's something about you taking the reins after a parent of some sort, certain things that you say or do makes it look like it's not for you, okay? And that is fine. And I will say, I think before my hiatus, we were talking about that before, okay? And so I think it's becoming more prevalent now down the line since that reading for Aquarius. I can't remember which series of readings it was. It might have been in the Heart's Desire, possibly. If you want to go check those out, okay? It's still timeless and still prevalent because it's showing up in this reading, okay? So let's get into the fourth placement. What should you release, Aquarius? What should you release? Past lives, okay? This is a very interesting card, okay? So past lives is here. We're obviously heading to the book, possibly. We have, it looks like, they look like salamanders along the side. That's the first thing that's like coming into my mind. And seeing almost kind of like the next word coming out is like lineage, obviously. But with past life, I don't know if you've ever heard of past life regression. That may be something you could be into for yourself. I feel this energy of maybe deep-rooted interest that you're not really sure about, that are kind of maybe hidden interests that are tied to past lives, okay? Pay attention to your dreams. If you do deal in past life regression, you'll start seeing maybe some visions, possibly. Journal them, write them down, and do some research, okay? I've done it myself a few times, listening to a few meditations. I have some publicly. I think I have a few that might be in there, but I just have not like broken them down into categories. But my experience with it is in my dreams, I have kind of seen myself in another person, but more so or less paying attention to the environment that I'm in. Like I've had dreams of being in like a rainforest, kind of Mayan, temple-esque kind of environment. And then there's been times where I've seen the person's face clearly, and then I've seen myself in them. Okay, so that's, just a small brief description of what you may go through if you do enter into past life regression. But definitely do your research before you do it. Okay, but that's how I would describe it for me, my experience. So page 38. And it says the hands of existence form the shape of the female genitals, the opening of the cosmic mother. Revealed within are many images, faces from other times. While it might be entertaining to fantasize about famous past lives, it is just a distraction. The real point is to see and understand the karmic patterns of our lives. and their roots in an endless repetitive cycle that traps us in unconscious behavior. The two rainbow lizards on either side represent knowing and not knowing. They are the guardians of the unconscious, making sure that we are prepared for a vision that might otherwise be shattering. A glimpse into the eternity of our existence is a gift, and understanding the function of karma in our lives is not something that can be grasped at all. This is a wake up call. The events in your life are trying to show you a pattern as ancient as the journey of your own soul. I'll read that again. This is a wake up call. The events in your life are trying to show you a pattern as ancient as the journey of your own soul. Okay? So this is a very interesting, very deep card. Okay? You obviously probably have already been doing this, Aquarius, without really knowing that you are. More so probably feeling like it was tied to lucid dreams, possibly. Especially if the dream has a tendency of feeling very real, um, almost like feeling like you're falling out of the bed, but you're actually still in the bed. I've had that happen a few times. There's also been sleep paralysis, possibly. Um, and again, it's probably ancestors that are trying to talk to you through dreams. And also, if you've verbalized what it is that you are wanting from the universe, from God, and it's showing you unconsciously. And I always say, pay attention to your dreams, journal them, and start looking up some of the dream meanings. Possibly if you've had any dreams of any lizards, possibly that have came in, doesn't necessarily mean that there's something sneaky around you, but it is something that you do need to be aware of. Okay, there's something around you that the universe wants you to be aware of. Okay, but start paying attention more. All right, so Aquarius, we're going to wrap up your reading with the last card, which is, how will it change you? Okay, how will all of this that's going on in your world, which is a lot, okay, it is a lot. Now, whether or not you need to take a breather is a question, because I'm not feeling burnout, but I'm feeling overwhelmed. Someone is feeling overwhelmed, okay? And so, if there's something that has to be released, you need to figure out if it's the fantasy of what it is that you want, and focus more so on what it is that you need, and what's really calling to your soul. Okay, let's see what's on the other side of this fifth placement. All right, innocence. Okay, how will it change you? Innocence. I automatically feel zen. I feel cherry blossoms. There's this looks like it's probably a praying mantis, being held by this old man, um, gently, and then, just the flowers kind of brushing over. Okay, automatically, the sense of this old man, I automatically feel wisdom, obviously, more so or less. Telling eyes comes to my mind, and also just being very peaceful in this moment. Okay, so again, referencing to the book after a brief review of the card. $40. I'm just going to move that out the way. Zen says that if you drop knowledge, And within knowledge, everything is included: your name, your identity, everything, because this has been given to you by others. If you drop all that has been given by others, you will have a totally different quality to your being: innocence. This will be a crucifixion of the persona, the personality, and there will be a resurrection of your innocence. You will become a child again, reborn. Okay? So I feel this energy of, if again, inner child being here, the fool with new beginnings, past lives, fighting against what it is that you truly maybe want to pursue, in pursuing what makes you happy, which gives you a childlike innocence. Um, I find myself doing that more so or less with some of my hobbies that I have, that it just brings me joy. Like, I still like watching X-Men on Disney Plus. It entertains my inner child. I remember waking up on Saturday mornings and watching the lineup faithfully with some cereal, and then going and playing outside or taking a nap after. And Saturday mornings used to be like starting at like 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning after the news, all the way until close to like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, with the best, cartoon lineup ever. Okay. And so I still get very nostalgic when I see those things coming back. It brings, really good, positive memories for me. Okay. But with anything that you pursue it with a childlike wonder. Okay, Aquarius, because then you will never be bored of it. As they say, if it's not work, if you enjoy it. Okay, if it's something that brings you a lot of peace and happiness, then you'll never work a day in your life. Okay, and that may be something that even your parents have told you as you've been growing up and trying to figure out what it is that you want to do. Okay, so again, this is all about you, Aquarius, about what it is that you want to aspire to for yourself. But at the end of it, it will change you in the most positive way. And also, I feel like it will bring you a lot of wisdom. Okay, so with that being said, that is all that I have for you guys, Aquarius. Hopefully, this holds you down for a while until your next reading. But until then, peace.